Hello and welcome to Southampton Vampire by Night. In this video, we'll be talking with Hugh, the CEO for Black Chantry Productions. Hugh has kindly agreed to come and talk to us about the history of Vampire the Eternal Struggle and what to expect in the near future, along with a surprise relating to By Night Studios' fantastic new Larp rules expansion, V2. So let's get started. If you guys would like to introduce yourself, please.
So, my name's Stuart. I'm one of the content creators for Southampton Vampire by Night, and today I'm very lucky to be talking to somebody about another hobby of mine connected to Vampire. Vampire Larp is one thing I used to do, Vampire RPG is another thing I used to do, but I also used to play a Vampire card game. So I'm here today with the person who's currently created and released Vampire the Eternal Struggle 5th edition Stars box set. So I'd like to introduce Hugh.
Hi Stu, thank you very much. I'm Hugh Angsisi. I'm the Chief Executive of Black Chantry Productions, based up here in Nottingham in the UK, and I have the privilege of producing the 5th edition version of Vampire the Eternal Struggle.
That's very cool because I only found out there was a new 5th edition last year because I've been playing the game, Vampire the Eternal Struggle, for a very long time. As long as I've been playing Vampire Tabletop, as in the RPG, I've also been alongside that playing the card game. The minute I found out there was a card game, I kind of snatched that up. It was back when card games were a big thing. CCGs, Magic the Gathering was all happening. So I've been playing a very long time. And for a long time, it's been very quiet. So I was very happy to learn very recently that there is a new 5th edition set available. I don't have it yet. It's one of those things I'm going to have to rectify because I do want to get it. But please tell me a little bit about it.
Oh, you've just missed Christmas. That could be a problem for you there.
That's why I didn't get a copy. I was, fingers crossed, I was like, I drop enough hint, maybe it'll be a Christmas gift. But unfortunately not. So I'm going to have to pick one up. But with lockdown being what it is, I'm going to be a little while whilst I wait for that. But yeah, please tell me what I can
understood.
To get a copy.
Yeah, so it's it's a 27-year-old game now. So it originally came out in 1994. And like you, I started playing it then from a kind of little group of friends who played the RPG as well. So played in a little kind of alleyway game shop in Cheltenham back then, and I traded my Magic the Gathering cards at the time for my first cards from Vampire, which was pretty exciting. I didn't have anything very good at the time. I had some revised, but I think it was like a basalt monolith or something uber dull that I traded, and then they gave me some store credit, and I've not looked back since. And that's a long time to play. I've had a couple of breaks in the meantime, and it has changed publisher a couple of times as well. So back then it was kind of Wizards of the Coast producing it, and they kind of lapsed that, as you said, kind of like 1996, when you had that. You had all of these card games in the market, like so many card games. You imagine intellectual property or something, and there was a card game for it, like Highlander, Dune, Babylon 5, a couple of different Star Trek and Star Wars ones, Spellfire, Cult, Rage, blah, 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 blah. Lots and lots of different card games. And some of them were really good, some of them had really cool ideas, and some of them survived. Like, Legend of the Five Rings survived quite a long time as well. And Vampire was another one that survived, along with things like Magic. It survived in kind of a strange way. So it dropped for a few years, and then White Wolf picked it back up, and then ran with it for about 11 years or so until kind of 2010. And White Wolf had undergone a few changes themselves. So they'd been bought up by the guys who made Eve at the time, so CCP, based in Iceland. And the idea was to make this fantastic World of Darkness, kind of immersive MMO kind of thing, and it never really got there. And we got to see lots of bits of it, and it looked fun. I think it was just too complicated back then at the time, and they eventually dropped all their other bits, and kind of Vampire the Eternal Struggle, or VTES as we call it, then fell by the wayside for a bit, and there was kind of quite a large community. So we had maybe like 1,200 unique tournament players at the time each year at that kind of stage. And the tournament players have like a community group called Vampire, the Kindred network, and that group started producing fan-based sets, so like one set every 18 months or 2 years or so, just really to keep the interest going, fill in the gaps that we thought existed in the game. And I was, my initial job on that was the kind of playtest coordinator and also running like the UK tournament scene, and then acting as like deputy chairman eventually as well. We did that for a few years, and then we were really, really lucky. So in kind of late 2016, or kind of maybe mid 2016, we had some kind of contacts about Paradox had bought the kind of White Wolf intellectual properties at the time. They were interested in doing different things for it. As we know now, we can see like Bloodlines 2 is on the horizon. There's a whole slew of different board games. They've put like 5th edition RPG out. There's more investment in kind of the Larp scene as well. There's all these things have a bit more buzz and different things are happening. And they were like, we want to have this Larp event in Berlin in, I guess, the summer of 2017, or August maybe. My date's starting hazy after a while, particularly after the last year. And we were asked, would we like to do like a special kind of limited box for all the attendees to get one copy of? And we made like a set called like the Berlin Anthology, like a 100-card set. And we put some cards from all of the, I think, 3 fan sets we'd produced until then. Like kind of spreading it out by clan or discipline and by artist as well. So all the artists who contributed artwork to us have done that for free as a kind of, we want to, if you get into print, then you can pay us kind of thing. But, we're trying to help support your game, which is fantastic. And we put some cards in there that were, they're hard to find or a bit more sought after. And another company who were running the event sold that for us. We basically put it together. We helped get it printed at Carter Monday. And I think they went through like 4,000 copies or something like that. So it kind of just proved that there's still interest in the game. People still want to play this. And then we worked with Paradox at the time to figure out how could we become a licensor as well. We'd really like to keep this going. So we enjoy it. We mainly enjoy the bit we just had, which is like go to Berlin. We had like 158 players or something like that. That's the bit you really enjoy. You've got all these players, all these different kind of melting pots and cultures. You can have a bit of food, a bit of a drink, a bit of a joke with some different people, and then on the actual table, kind of terrorize them, rip their arms off, have a bit of a joke as well. So that's what we want to do. Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, you're now in a position whereby with the license, you've got the 5th edition starter set. It's now just So for years, I mean, Vampire was a card game. You bought your starter, you bought your boosters, your rule book was a tiny little black and white booklet that, trying to my main thing was anytime you try to explain the game to a new player, you didn't want to show them the rule book. You wanted to try and get it as simplified as possible, so you'd introduce it slowly and gradually and build up. So does this new edition sort of help me as a player of the game, a long time player of the game, help new players understand the game, make it easy for someone new to the game, to the setting, to come in and start playing the card game straight away?
Definitely, Stu. I mean, I really think so. So I've got an example here of an old rule book, which is a tiny little thing. I love this, and the guy who wrote this, this final version, LSJ, he's an absolute legend. But it's difficult if you're a new player or if you're new to games in general. So the rule book we have now, it's a little bit smaller than that in terms of number of pages. So it's kind of about 50 pages or so. It's full color. It's got a load of diagrams in, and they're fairly easy to kind of understand diagrams. We had like a load of proofreaders. We had some professionals. So we got the guys at Gaming Rules, who are based in the UK as well. Who so the main guy there, Paul Grogan, he does this for a living of helping companies write rule books. So we got like a little bit of help of what works, what doesn't work for you, what's best practice, and we put that kind of into the rule book. So it's got all the rules in it, and it's got kind of called out sections for advanced rules. So you don't need to worry about this when you're learning to play the game. but we didn't want to take those rules out and put them too separately, because you can get lost or confusing as well. And the other thing that's probably a bit different, so we have an English rulebook in most of the copies of the game, but we also produced French and Spanish versions of V5 with French and Spanish rulebooks. So we've got a lot of European players, and the two kind of populations that are largest are Spain and France. And although the players we've known for years, they're fine with it. They know what they're doing, they know how to play, but they want to teach their friends, they want to get their partners involved. All this kind of stuff. It's just so much easier having that in kind of a native language as well.
So with the a simplified rulebook, I can expect to take this box. And now, people who are watching this may not know what Vampire: The Eternal Struggle is kind of like to play. A lot of card games, you think of two people sat opposite each other playing one-to-one. Magic the Gathering, you're playing against your opponent, you're trying to beat your opponent down, beat their life total, and it's very much a you versus them. Same with Legend of the Five Rings and other card games. It's very much a one-on-one. Whereas Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, I've always found and always enjoyed the aspect of it being a game where it's better the more players you have. It's a game that works best when you've got 3, 4, 5 players. The sweet spot being the 4 or 5 players. So for this deck, you've got 5 decks in the new starter set.
Yes, there's five decks in the new starter set, and they've been balanced as much as we can through kind of our play testers against each other. So we have one for kind of Clan Malkavian, and that's all about that kind of stealthy bleeding, doing stuff in the shadows. Try oust your opponents that way. We've got Nosferatu deck as well. So again, a bit of the shadows, but far more focused on kind of the combat and the beating other vampires into a pulp, as you might expect. Kind of a Toreador deck, so a little bit more focused on the kind of the votes and the politics of the Camarilla. A Tremere deck. I'm not really sure why the Tremere deck are in there, but I understand it's something to do with kind of rituals and magic. Everyone knows they're not really vampires. And then the kind of Ventru as well, who are again, the leaders of the Camarilla and the leaders of vampire society. So you've got some bleeding, some politics. So they're trying to do all the machinations in the background. So you've got 5 decks set up, and the ideal would be kind of 4 or 5 players. So you choose 4 or 5 of those decks, and they should work more or less in any order. And the idea is you'll try to oust the player to the left of you. So you'll take on the role of a Methuselah, so an ancient vampire in the Wall of Darkness. You'll take on the role of a Methuselah, and you're bringing out lesser minions to try and affect the player to the left of you for the most part. So you want to remove them from the game, because if they're removed from the game, you get a victory point and you get some more influence to let you continue surviving in the game. So the end of the game isn't necessarily simple.
Necessarily being the last player standing, is it?
Exactly. Thank you.
Play with the most points at the end of the game.
Most points at the game, right? So you're getting 1 point for the player to the left of you being ousted. Yeah. So that's your prey. And then if you're playing a 5-player game, that means if 3 players to the left of you have been ousted in a row, you're going to be on 3 points. So even if the next person kills you, they'd be on 2 points, but you would still win, so you have the most points. Yeah. Because it's all about earning that pool and that victory point for ousted players left. You've got a bit into the game mechanics there, but it's fair.
I was going to say, we've got some mechanics and terms there that people may not understand and stuff like that. But in very simple terms, it's a complex game that's relatively elegant in how it actually plays. You can take out your opponent whose life total is counted in blood. Blood buys you the vampires you play. It pays for the disciplines and cards they use. It pays for the equipment you give them. But the way you defeat your prey in the game can be very different depending on the deck you're playing. So you can take them out politically, as you say, with the Toreador deck and vote them to death. Or you can play a Brouillard deck and you can just beat them to death with lampposts until they're all in the bin. But, it's a game that has a multitude of ways of winning. And so the fun of the game is never knowing what your opponent is going to be able to do against that, I think.
Exactly. And then each of the clans, so even though each of the clans have strengths, So like the Ventru, you know, they have more control of princedoms, so they have more princes, they have more political power, so they might like to do a lot of that kind of political machinations. You can still do combat decks with them because, you know, they are a holy order of Templars essentially, right? You know, that you've got that kind of I'm a noble knight leading vampire society through the ages kind of thing about that, which is quite good.
And they can soak a lot of punishment.
They can very much indeed, yes. So the Brouillard are coming out a bit later this year, actually. So we're doing a new kind of a new starter deck with them. So the intent, I guess, for us is that each of the core clans we want to have a starter deck with, to make each of those clans very accessible. For here's a way to get these clans up and running fairly quickly. But you can do anything with pretty much any clan. Okay, it's not entirely true, but like most clans can do combat quite well. Just some of them are really good, particularly if you've got like your potence and your fortitude, your kind of natural physical disciplines. Whereas if you're perhaps the Tremere and you've got this blood sorcery, you're going to get hit in the face with a Twin Signpost. I've got nothing in it for Tremere, have I?
So tabletop in LARP, I love my Tremere. That's my thing. But in Vitesse, I'm a Toreador player, and I've been playing AAA, Anson, Anika, and Alexandra since like day one. It's all about speed, politics, and high bleed with presence for me. But that's just me. So I've got no problem with you digging on the Tremere at the moment, because they have one of the weirdest sets of abilities in a game, much like tabletop. They just have magic, which does a bit of everything. They're a clan that can't make up their mind about their identity in card games or the tabletop game, let's be fair. So one of the things I have found is, obviously, with the advent of the web being such a big part of gaming nowadays, obviously you can do things like drive-through RPG to print off RPG stuff, and there's also drive-through cards, so you can now print copies of old cards that are perhaps out of print or haven't been in print for a long time. So do you guys have that aspect of using drive-through cards for some of the stuff that we've done in the past?
We do. So we actually, so after the Berlin anthology, was the first thing we managed to get into print, which I appreciate was us actually helping another company do in the first place.
Yeah.
We then got some seed money. So there's 5 of us in the company. So we basically each put in some cash, and we spent that cash on some old cards that had gone out in 2000 and kind of 10ish. So the Heirs to the Blood cards, which were probably the most sought after cards, I think, at the time, that probably had the kind of smallest print run. Yeah. So we got those out, and we put them up on drive-through cards. So they've been really helpful with us. Try to explain how it works. We had not a lot of idea. We could produce the PDFs to make that side work, but we didn't know that. It's really strange. Like a PDF for what needs to go up on drive-through cards is different from a Carta Monday PDF, because they've got slightly different printing standards. And trying to learn that kind of stuff was really helpful with them. So they've been very supportive. The good thing about that is that there's no stock costs or anything like that. So you put the item up, and then someone can just order it, and it's printed in Kansas on kind of a very much print-on-demand basis. We've got Heirs to the Blood up there, and Keepers of Tradition, which are the last 2 sets that White Wolf produced under their old days. We've also then put up some like 56 cards demo decks on there as well. So there's one for Malkavian Nostratu, Toreador Tremel, Ventru again, and these are from slightly older sets, but they're fully interchangeable. And it's just to have a cheap, simple way of, if you want to have a look at the game, try and understand it, or just get some additional kind of cards to add to that. We've also got some original legacy cards on. So the idea is to get most cards back up on drive-through cards. It just takes time to get some of the artwork we need to replace. Some of the cards we want to template all of the cards as well, so they all fit what we think is a better way to read them. So we've got the old Asmite cards up on there. They're off at the moment, as we're just reproofing them. Behind me as well, in a box, I have Followers of Set, Giovanni, and Sombra cards. So I've gone, there's about 400 individual cards in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just reproofing them. So we've digitally proofed them. This is our kind of hard copy. So every time we put something up on Drive-Thru Cards, we need to get the hard copy, check it looks okay, and then we can okay it and we can put it up. So I've gone through the Followers of Set vampires and then the Sombra vampires, and I've started on the Giovanni vampires, and then there's a load of kind of discipline cards and masters for them, and all the kind of fun cards to have associated
it's a game
with
with a long history. So you've got 27 years worth of cards of backlog, and it's not like you can just chuck them all up there straight away, because as you say, you've got to format them, proofread them, check they actually still work in the rules, and that they are still functional in the game, as it were. So yeah, there's a lot of history to the game. There's a lot of good things happening with Vampire in general at the moment, with the launch of 5th edition, as in VTES, Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, the launch of V2, which is for the Larp game, which is coming up later on. It's currently launched at the moment as a backing. You can go and back that now on their website. And obviously, they're still doing the current Vampire RPG at the moment. So how is Black Chantry going to tie into the overarching sort of like world push at the moment? Is there anything you're doing to sort of help promote not only your game but also the wider sort of license, as it were?
Yes, definitely. So everything new we're going to print will be kind of V5 canon is the idea, that at least with some very odd exceptions. So this V5 box kind of is like a line in the sand. So there will be new clan-based decks coming out for your Banhu Kim, so formerly your Aspite, your Ministry, formerly Followers of Set. We'll also have Brouillard and Gangrel, and I guess the biggest difference there will be, for instance, that the Brouillard and Gangrel and Ministry will be mainly Allocs in V5 compared to being Camarilla or Independent. We'll also be adjusting some of the disciplines, so all of the old cards will still be around and they'll be up on that kind of drive-through ability facility. But when we produce, for instance, like the Banu Hakim, instead of Quietus, they'll have Blood Sorcery. So in some ways that'll make it easier, because it means you can combine them with the Tremere and try and do some more clever tricks there. For us, it kind of adds design space, so we need to then figure out how to make unique cards for the Banu that they get the most value out of, or the most interesting for them, because you want to keep that excitement of playing something that's different. You want all the clans represented in slightly different ways. Like facets of the same.
Everyone wants to have a unique. They want a unique identity, but there's like 27 bloodlines and 13 clans and a billion and one other things, and you can't do unique for everything. It's like you can only be so many different clans of death before you just go like, okay, we'll just have one clan of death, thank you very much. Put the Giovanni and put the Samdi and put the Cappadocians and put them over there and say you're all now one clan of death. But I get that. It's hard to try and balance everything, but it's nice to know that sort of things are going to move to the V5 sort of timeline, as it were. So like I said, the Brouillard and the Gangrel now being Anarchs mean that you can still play your old Brouillard cards and play Camarilla Brouillard, but you can now also play a lot more of the Anarch Brouillard, which is kind of good. I like the idea of moving it along in line with the V5 timeline, because VTES would had some crossover and links between the RPG over the years. Certain characters would pop up in the RPG, and they'd have a character pop up in the card game to match, and sometimes the crossover was the other direction. There'd be a card game character that would then make the jump to the RPG, and it was always nice to be able to cross-reference the artwork and follow those characters along and see sort of like their story told in more than one arc. So I'm looking forward to it being more collaborative that way.
Yeah, so we want people to be able to take their favorite cards from whatever bit of license, favorite characters from whatever bit of license, and be able to play it in kind of VTES and create a new story for them, right? So hopefully Thea Bell will come back again as a new version in VTES and continue running around with the torn signposts, or Victoria Ash will come back and try a bit of her duplicitousness in the background. I'm not sure that's a real thing. I mean, that is what she does. So that kind of thing, because that's part of the fun about having this massive alternate reality, if you like. So other things we've done so far as tie-ins. So the guys who are doing chapters, that's Flyos. So this is kind of like a sort of dungeon crawls, not quite the right phrase, but you're doing a little bit of investigation on a board, and we've done a tie-in kind of card for that went to all the backers. So a caitiff called Gabriel, and the idea of when we do these tie-ins is we do like a call-up version that's got like a little set symbol, if you like, to say this is from this, and then after a year we'll make it more freely available, because we don't want like a play to win, pay to win, I meant to say, pay to win kind of strategy. It's all about accessibility, but also making a bit of fun and uniqueness. We've also
have a card that's exclusive for a while. Because you get to play with it, and then maybe you've got it a bit before someone else gets hold of it. So that's fun. And then having a wider availability, because promo cards that you can never get hold of again, they were always fun.
No, I mean, VTES has mainly avoided that, but there has been periods where some of them were hard to get hold of for whatever reasons, or White Wolf would print like 10,000 in a go. So it's just, how do they get around the world to make them kind of evenly balanced? Always get the first tournaments where they have them, and they have them up on eBay. And that's probably still always going to be a thing. But it's like, well, if you want to get it quickly, fine, that's the thing. But we are going to make sure there's enough copies for everybody to have however many copies they want of in a sensible manner. We've also done a tie-in with Alice Games, who are producing like a Polish version of V5, the RPG. So we've produced a Polish vampire for them, who's a Malkavian as well, which is quite exciting. We're now doing like a little mini set based on the fall of London as well. So that's going to have a load of those kind of returning characters in, and then we're going to kind of continue seeing where things go from there. And currently we're doing a Larp tie-in character as well with for By Night Studios on this Volume 2 release.
That's cool. Now, we've just done 3 videos with By Night Studios promoting V2 for them. I was lucky enough to do one of those where I got to chat to the guys about their plans and new rules and stuff for the LARP and everything else. So if you would like to, I'd be happy to chat about any card you're sort of promoting with those guys.
Yes. So this is a bit of a special project. So we've got a La Sombra Prince coming out called Alicia, and she's like a bit of a kind of a pirate queen, and we just try I guess get a bit of that Florida feel out. So she's gonna be a Prince of Tampa. I guess she's like 8th gen, reasonably powerful, and it's just like nice to get some of their signature characters from those kind of guys out as well.
So it's so firstly, it's a Camarilla La Sombra Prince. So
Camarilla La Sombra Prince.
Yeah, we've only had one Camarilla La Sombra before. Every other La Sombra card is a member of the Sabbat up until now. So this is good. This is a start to sort of link with that V5 thing where the La Sombra have gone and joined the Camarilla now. They're an 8th gen character, so they've got quite a big blood pool. So what sort of disciplines, what sort of card abilities do we have for this prince to make them sort of stand out? What can I expect if I'm playing this character in my game?
That is fair. So she is a little bit unusual due to, as I said, most of the stuff we're going to produce, nearly 95 or 99.9% of stuff we're going to produce that's new will be V5 material. So she's actually a legacy item. So she is a Camarilla Prince who used to be an Archbishop, and she'll have Obteneration, which will eventually become a Bolivian when we start producing new La Sombra later on in this year. She also has Potence and she has Celerity. So she is essentially a Corsair. Interesting little kind of sub-bloodline for the Sombra. Very piratey. I think her background is she's originally from kind of Corsica, then spent some time in Florida. It's quite interesting. We've got our in-house art director has produced the artwork for her as well. So Eunice Quintanaro. I've screwed his surname up completely. Probably his first name as well, but he's very forgiving. And he's basically produced that artwork in a week as well. We had like a sample artwork from By Night Studios as well. So it was just like a toss-up of which piece to use, which was pretty cool. So it's nice having kind of multiple pieces available, and also very, very quickly. I think she's gonna fit in group 4. So we have a grouping system because we've got 3,500 cards in the game. The grouping system is to mean you can play vampires of 2 consecutive groups, just to focus choices and not stop any really strange connections where you can use the same vampire who've got different names or things like that, right? Let's try and keep it a bit of specialty going on. That does mean she'll be in the same group as the previous the Sombra prints, so there might be some interaction there. I know there are there's some decks back in the day that would have had Marcus Vitel when he was pretending to be a Thru prince with the Sombra prince. I want to say Giancanzalo.
Yeah, that was the one. Giancanzalo, the traitor prince.
I mean, he knows what he's doing. And then there was like a Brouillard Primogen as well, Tyler, who had Obteneration and Presence and Potence. So they all kind of fitted together. She obviously doesn't have Potence, Presence, Alicia, but I'll be interested to see what we can get done there, because it's nice having more princes together in like a little quirky deck that just about works. That isn't designed to work, right? Because you're not at that stage in the life cycle. You don't have lots and lots of Camarilla Sombra. So the point is to make it a bit more rare.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can put them in decks, like you say, you can slide them into a deck that shares a common discipline pool, so you can try and concentrate on doing, Potence and Obteneration and Potence and Celerity and Obteneration. And like you say, we mix and match here, put some Brouillard in there as well with La Sombra. And as long as you're working on the disciplines and not necessarily the clan identities, then you can build a fairly good working deck there. And if you're looking at the politics of the matter, then they've all got titles, then that's going to work for you. You don't necessarily have to worry about the clans if you're looking at the titles and the politics of your if that's your way of winning the game there.
And she's got.
No, you go first.
Well, I was just going to say, Stu, she's also got like an interesting special as well. So she's got, when she successfully does a D-action against Methuselah, the idea is that she can then discard a political action card from her hand to lock one of those Methuselah's kind of minions. I think perhaps younger minion. So it gives like a bit of an option there. If you get something through, maybe you manage to get like a bleed through or something particular with all of your cards you've got in your hand, and then you need to do something a bit clever. You can maybe try and make that work.
Yeah. So I mean, already, if I'm on the offensive with this character, my opponent's either got to lock a vampire down to try and stop me doing the thing I'm doing. But if they don't stop me, I'm going to lock a vampire down anyway. So I'm going to take one of their, if I'm attacking my prey, I'm going to take one of their defenders out of the situation and leave them with, one less person to stop my next vampire doing the next thing I want to do. So yeah, I can see that being a very potent ability. It's a unique ability that forces my opponent to make a choice. They're forced to make a choice. As long as I've got politics cards in my deck and in my hand, then I can trigger this ability, and they don't know when I'm going to do it, which is good.
I don't know how likely it is to work, but because she's got Celerity, there's a card called Torrent for Celerity, which basically you get into combat, and then you just keep doing what you're doing, and you just forget about the combat. Essentially, it's very expensive, but this may be a situation where it works, where you lock them down because you've got into combat with them, and then you carry on doing it, and then you get to lock another one of their guys down as well. Who knows?
Yeah, no, she sounds very interesting. I look forward to hopefully seeing her and using her in some games in the future. That'd be really, really handy. So yeah, it's been great talking to you. Is there anything else you want to mention about upcoming projects? You've said, what you've got. You've said what we're looking forward to in the future. Is there anything else you want to say before we finish up today?
No, I think it's been really cool. Thank you very much for having me. I do hope you get to have a look at a copy soon, so you can let us know the feedback. As I said, it's like the core game, 5 decks in it, nice full color rule book, 5 little quick sheet guides, some counters, like an edge token, so a token to indicate who's doing the best in the game, if you like, at that point in time. Just as fully contained is the idea, so try and make it really helpful.
Fully contained starter set to get up to 5 players going straight away. And I look forward to, when all of this is all over, being able to actually sit down at a table with 4 other people and play the game physically across the table with people again.
Definitely.
For me, that's the best part. I mean, I've been doing a lot of playing games online for the last 12 months, but I want to sit down with physical cards at a table, and play physical people. But,
very much so, yeah.
Things to look forward to in the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Stu.
Lovely chatting to you. Thanks for coming on this evening. And I hope we can chat again at some point in time. Maybe go over some of the actual game terms, or maybe even get a demo game online.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'd love to show you guys the other kind of clans as they come up as well, just to see how that kind of connects with you guys. I'm hopeful that we can do more kind of tie-in cards as well with other kind of license holders in the World of Darkness. It's just fun, right? So if anyone's doing a game and fancy having some Vitas cards after their game, my lead designer will tell me off now, but we love designing cards for that kind of stuff. It's just a bit of fun.
And I think that's it. Having a linked game that sits across multiple genres of gaming, where you actually all feel part of a community. You're not just LARPers, you're not just card gamers, not just role players. You're part of a community that actually does a bit of everything, and you can see that going through, across everything. You can see the links, and I like that. I think that's one of the things that keeps me going with Vampire, is knowing that I'm playing, no matter which game I'm concentrating on at the time, it's all the same sort of universe, and it's the same sort of fixed world for me. So it's been really nice chatting to you, and I look forward to chatting again.
Cool. Thank you, Stu.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a massive eye-opener for me, finding out about the history of Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, but more importantly, Hugh's part in it. It's inspiring to see members of the Vfamily leading the charge with the continuation of this fantastic hobby. Plus, the new card sounded awesome. I can't wait to see how we can get our hands on it. Thank you so much for the support my channel has received over the last month. And if you would like to help support me and Southampton Vampire by Night, then please subscribe and check out our Patreon page. We have some big plans for the future, and with your support, we can make these a reality. If you would like to see more Vampire: The Eternal Struggle content on this channel, or have any questions relating to this video, then please pop them in the comments below. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.